Peace to us all. Let's talk about polygamy this morning. In the first place, as a free-minded person awakened, I don't have any problem with polygamy. But I feel, or based on information I've gathered so far, our ancestors did polygamy is very different from what I see now. And that's why I feel there's so much agitation on social media, and it looks like women don't like polygamy. After all, we'll all die and go one day. Yeah, so if another woman comes along, then what is it? But the point is, how many men even now wants to even marry one person? A lot of people are saying they can't find their soulmate because there are a lot of confusion in terms of relationship. So those who even have one relationship or one wife or husband are having problems. How much more polygamy? And so far from information I've gathered, that's how polygamy was done in the past. Or even for relationships. Before a lady will turn 20, she already has a suitor because probably the parents would have done all the check. And for the man too, their parents would have come to ask for the lady's hand in marriage. And so by the time she has her first menses, she's already betrothed to someone, and after that, she goes right into her husband's home. So there's a couple that gets married very young. There's no need for sneaky relationships all over the place. You know, they live together, and I'm very sure that I've been open dialogue such that it becomes necessary for a man to have a second wife. The first wife gives full blessing and even welcomes the second wife, other wives into the house. Okay, here is a case where ancestors also practice extended family lifestyles with subsistence kind of living, where probably a man would have had a large farm, either fishing vessel, anything that centered around the man. And it would have been ideal that a man has multiple wives who give birth to lots of children, so the man wouldn't have to go and buy workers from outside. But then along the line, urbanization came, Christianity came, and focus shifted from extended family types into nuclear family type. So that now a man is working for monthly salary, which is even not enough. So if you have multiple wives, even if you have one wife and a girl or a girlfriend, see how costly it can be. How much more having multiple wives? So at a point in time, I'm sure most of these men themselves wouldn't even fancy having multiple relationships because they are giving here and there. It doesn't even become pleasant. Now the point is, if you don't have a farmland and probably you've moved from your village to come and live in a city where you're living in a single room at most, chairman hall, or those who are fortunate enough having big houses, then it won't even be ideal to have multiple women and lots of children. Even those married to one wife, some are just opting for at most 3 children because like you're paying fees, you're paying expenses all over the place here and there. So in the first place, I see nothing wrong with polygamy, but I feel society has transitioned into a place where the value of polygamy as compared to our ancestral days doesn't really hold in this time. And that's why maybe women have become used to the fact that, and you know, with advent of church and holy matrimony, vows being said in church, like for better for worse, till death do us part. So in the mind of the woman, she's the only woman till death. That's why when women hear their men have cheated or out of the blue, men hide extramarital relationships, and then a child comes in, then a woman is so pain. I've heard stories of women who fainted and died just because they got to know their husband has another wife and children somewhere. In other relationships, some men have abused their wife, and hurt them just because another woman is in the picture. I have a story of an auntie who was married, for a number of years, had 4 children for her husband. Along the line, they outgrew the relationship. The man went in for a second wife, had 2 children, and the second wife even left the man to the extent that now the man felt ashamed to come to the first wife, so he just lived his single life on and off till he died. And this first wife, being a God-fearing Christian woman, was just hoping that her marriage would work. So she stayed around, single all her life, even after the man had left her, to the time the man died. And eventually she was the one that supervised the funeral service of the man, together with her children and the family. So I don't think the issue is necessarily with polygamy. After all, there are so many married men who have so many girlfriends outside, and you think wives are not aware. Wives are aware, but the point is, till they see you, or for the fact that you haven't made it a legal thing, there's like, okay, just go about flaunting. So the point is, if a man has one wife at home and has multiple girlfriends and somehow society is still thriving, then I feel there would be nothing wrong if a man has multiple women. But the point is, you know how marriage ceremonies are conducted these days. Quite a lot goes into just one marriage. People have to borrow money just to make the marriage look glamorous and all that. So imagine a man and you're thinking to be polygamous with such kind of marriage, unless maybe the women agree, and that's what I'm seeing on social media nowadays. Man marrying like 2-3 women at the same time, the women agree. If they agree and it can cut costs, why not? So I feel it's all about transparency and dialogue, but personally, this is what I've noticed. Before, in this our present generation, before a man will go out for a second woman or second wife, naturally, let me say, there are men who would be polygamous even if they had the most beautiful wife at home, But here's the case where spouses are traveling for either education or businesses and all that. And let's say the man is a type who wants to have sexual relationships almost every day. The wife is, and his job is such that he can't always be traveling around. Then no matter what you do, such a man would go to another place and find somebody, either a casual partner, just for the time frame he has to work wherever he is. It doesn't necessarily mean he doesn't love his wife, but within that moment it becomes necessary. So that is a casual relationship that is necessary for the man. And such men, if you ask them, they would never want to have a second wife because they don't want to think they are with 2 women constantly all the time. Okay, I have my wife at home. I can always go back to her unfairly, but in the meantime, let me just move around with these ladies for as long as it's convenient for me. However, I feel for most of the time, before a man would be so much into another woman to the extent that I'm marrying her, then probably he's falling out with the first wife, or it's even possible the first wife has fallen out with the husband himself. There isn't joy at home anymore, but society construct, it's even more expensive getting divorced because at the time couples decide to divorce, children are already involved. Let's say properties, houses, cars. So now you are splitting. How do you split all these between couples? And I mean, if we look at the Western world or Europe, especially America, we've seen whereby couples get divorced and a man has to bequeath half of his wealth to the woman. And the question I'm asking is, does it mean the woman never worked at the time he was with this man? Okay, what's the woman also giving to the man? So at the end of the day, divorce becomes expensive for a lot of people, especially African marriages. So why stress to divorce? Okay, let me just move away from my first wife, keep her at home. Maybe I've given her a comfortable life. She lives in a good house, cars, children to take care of. So after all, and that is why I feel women are being relegated, because if the relationship has fallen out, why pretend to be married and still be there when a man probably, and for most men who would marry a second wife, probably they'll even move out of their first matrimonial home. If you have moved out, then it's no more marriage. You get it? So I feel it's time we all dialogue about these issues. If there's understanding, the men can have multiple women and women don't care. After all, we have other things to take care of, children, maybe you also want to go into business and all that. It doesn't really matter. And then maybe the men can also allow. When a woman is, like, for 1 or 2 reasons, needs another man, she also goes for an amoeba, because I've actually heard stories of women who come out openly to say, well, she's married, but they were having troubles at home, or the husband couldn't give her a child, and the husband agreed that, okay, go out there, play, get pregnant, but for as long as you're with me in this marriage, I say the child is mine. And some men play along this path. In other instances, women get married to men who can support them financially, and the man either agrees, or even if he doesn't agree, there's no choice. So the woman has to befriend another man who is providing financially for her relationship, with spiritual relationships also, so these are things that we don't get to talk about on everyday basis, because it's like everything has to be done in secret, until someone dies, someone is abused, is battered, it comes out and it's like, why didn't you speak out? Meanwhile, people come out to speak and it's like, oh, women are bitter, they're against polygamy, men are this, it's not the case. But I think it's high time, like ancestors did in the old, where they sat down to dialogue about these things. We also do that, and then I believe we'll all be good to go. Peace to us all.